Desde No in 79. Today you can see different surroundings than previous videos. It's blowing a gale outside today in Sydney, so we've moved inside, and although it does look like I'm in a South American coffee house, I have put these up because it beats looking at the bare walls behind it. Adds a bit of atmosphere. Coffee, cigars. I've recently done a story for Cigar Journal about pairing coffees with cigars up in Brisbane. Fantastic event, but hopefully it gives a bit more I don't know, appeal, sort of puts you in the mood. Coffee and cigars, South America, Caribbean, etc. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, enough of that gibberish. Today I am reviewing the Partagas D5 Petit Robusto, released by Habanos SA originally in 2011. No box code on this one, sorry, it's from a 3-pack, but I did have one the other day. Seemed a bit young from my initial impression, but we'll give this one another go and see how it goes on video. Anyway, going to light this up. I do have some Mount Gay XO rum to pair with it. Should be a good pairing. I love the aged rum, especially the Mount Gay XO. Goes well. Mount Gay don't pay me to endorse their products, but hey, if Mount Gay you're watching, please send me your products. More than happy to drink them at your expense. Anyway, on with the show. Let me light this bad boy up. A lot of viewers would be very, very familiar with the Partagas D5. Obviously, even more familiar with the Partagas D4. D4 is a classic Robusto from Habanos SA. Personally, I remember when I first got into cigars, I noticed that the D4 was a powerhouse. You know, it would blow your head off. Had to have a big meal beforehand. Otherwise, it would just be, you know, game over, show's over, go home, go to bed. As the years progress, though, I've found that, especially in the past 5 years, Partagas D4 not as strong as it originally was, or perhaps it's what I thought I was. Perhaps my palate's changed as I've gotten older and more used to cigars. I'm not sure, but I just think the D4, the blend, I don't know, not as strong as it once was. Anyway, this is the D5, completely different kettle of fish. Let's see how we go. I'll light this bad boy up. We are in the bunker, so it is blowing a gale outside, as I said, but it's a lot more comfortable in here than outside at the moment. Very, very good. Just clean that up a bit. Good start. Anyway, let me pour myself some rum. I'll get back to the cigar in a minute. Now, the IPCPR is kicking off in a couple of days in Las Vegas, Nevada. Obviously, this cigar is one that won't be released, obviously because it's from Cuba. But this year's IPCPR will be very, very interesting with the FDA's deeming regulations, meaning a lot of producers are trying to get their, or will be getting their cigars to market before the August cutoff date. So this IPCPR, I think, I won't be there unfortunately. Cigar Journal team will be there, so pop in and say good day to the Cigar Journal team. Reinhold and the boys and girls will be there. Yeah, this year's IPCPR, very interesting to see huge amounts of cigars being released so that they get on the market before deeming regulations hit, and cigars have to go through the regulations. It's just absurd. I'm actually working on a story for Cigar Journal at the moment, the cover story for the next issue, which is all about the nanny state all around the world. FDA obviously in the USA, TPD2 in Europe, and also the countless regulations retailers, wholesalers, importers, distributors, etc. have to deal with around the world. So keep an eye out for that one. And while I have a sip of this rum and have another puff of this Partagas D5. Cheers. Beautiful. It's got a very I wouldn't say vegetal, but it's a very, there's hints of sort of black tea, or tea leaves I should say, not the actual black tea itself, but tea leaves. Very light sort of leafy, hay sort of flavour to begin with, but let's see how it goes. Even though we are inside, there is a bit of a breeze coming through, as you can see from the smoke, so that tells you how windy it is here in Sydney today. So yeah, blustery conditions, not good for cigars, but at least inside here we've got a bit of cover, which is nice. Burning extremely well from the start. Good burn, fantastic draw, perfect, cut well, used the guillotine cutter, did very well. Yeah, just picking up a lot of, there's almost a citrus sort of zing there as well. Wouldn't say it's sort of orange citrus, more like a limey, lemony sort of citrus zing. Very slight though, but it's just something I'm picking up. And obviously that the black tea leaf sort of aromas there as well. Very interesting. So yeah, back to the IPCPR. Going to be a huge show. Shame I'm not there, but if you are there, as I suspect many of my viewers will be, there's a bit of an Aussie contingent that'll be present. As far as I know, Jason Nelson with Dictador Cigars, go and check out their booth. He's got a whole sensory explosion going on, obviously with Dictador Cigars, marrying with Dictador gin, rum and coffee. So get along to that and say good day to Jason. Fellow Aussie Jared Hayes is launching his own brand, Nicoya Cigars. I wrote about them recently, short story for Cigar Journal up on their website. And Gerard has self-funded his own brand of cigars. Got 2 cigars coming out, a medium-bodied cigar and a fuller-bodied cigar called Nicoya. And Nicoya is the slang term for someone from Nicaragua, and he's called it Nicoya to honour the people in Nicaragua who have sort of created his vision and delivered his dream of having a cigar brand. So good on you, Jared. Have a great show. Fellow Aussies over there, Nafa from Cigar Hut's going over, as far as I know, and I think Simon Devlin from Devlin's in Perth might be there as well. So there's a few Aussies that'll be representing Australia. So be sure to say good day and have a cigar with them. Great start to this cigar. At the moment I'd classify it as a sort of light to medium bodied cigar, not sort of in your face, blow your head off type stuff. Very easing into it gently, which is a really nice way to start, and still getting sort of that black tea, hay, vegetal sort of aroma to it, and that a little bit of citrus zing that I mentioned before. From around the world, or at least my neck of the woods, being in Asia Pacific region, Volado Vietnam, a Vietnamese cigar company, is launching Garo cigars later this month and in early August. So if you're in Vietnam, check them out. I'm not sure how many of my viewers are in Vietnam, but it's great to see a lot of boutique cigars starting to push into Asia a bit more. And Dr. Garo, founder of the brand and owner of the brand, will be there at those launch events as well. Also recently, Havana House over in Auckland, they've recently set up a new shop close by to where they were in Auckland, but brand new layout, brand new fit out. Plain packaging hasn't come to New Zealand yet, so it's a beautiful store, everything on display. The humidor, obviously, walk-in humidor's out of sight, out of mind, unfortunately, but still would be a great shop to go and visit. Segue into talking about my recent coffee and cigars piece for Cigar Journal. It was in the second edition of 2016, which was published a month ago now. Basically, in that story, what I did was think, well, hang on, besides alcohol, there's plenty of stories out there about pairing cigars with alcohol, rum, cognac, whiskey, port, etc. But coffee is one of those drinks, especially in the morning, if you're having a cigar in the morning, that people love to have a cigar with, and usually smaller size cigar as well, obviously in the morning, before you start your busy day. So what I did, basically got a crew together in Brisbane, Philippe and Dimitri up in Brisbane with Paladar Fumiar Salon, Dave Burke and Nath Martin, and basically the five of us got together. We sampled about 6 cigars, including there was Dictador, Davidoff, we had some Cubans in there. The links up on the Unico Desde 1979.com. But basically it was a fantastic way of pairing. We had 3 different coffee types. Dimitri and Philippe took us through the cupping process, so tasting the coffee, smelling the coffee before it's brewed, gives you a bit more of a sensory journey rather than just drinking the coffee straight up. And then obviously got on to having the espresso coffees and pairing them with 6 different cigars. It was a great experience. Not all of us had the 6 cigars. It would have been a very, very long night otherwise, but we got through about 2 to 3 cigars each. And yeah, it was an interesting research, you could call it, because it basically gave us an insight into what works well. It wasn't about saying this is the best, this is the worst. It's more about obviously what pairs well, what paired better than others, and obviously there's, it all comes down to palate essentially, and what flavors you like in your coffee and what flavors you like in your cigars. But all the cigars were, of the petit robusto size or smaller, half Coronas, and yeah, it was a fantastic, what would I call it, experience. Coming into the end of the first third now, burning very well. Might touch up the edges in a minute. Do that right now actually. Still getting that vegetal sort of taste, very light bodied, that sort of black tea leaf sort of light flavour. If you can imagine sort of imagine walking through a tea plantation in Sri Lanka or India, and having that sort of smell of the tea leaf coming through. That's sort of what I'm getting from this cigar. Might seem a bit abstract, but that's the experience I'm getting from this cigar at the moment. FDA issue in America, it's obviously thrown a spanner in the works, you could say, with a lot of manufacturers, and that's putting it lightly. It's a very serious issue for a lot of manufacturers, and essentially it's not just an American problem. I think it's a global problem as well. A couple of months back I was on Dave Burke's Cigar Jukebox podcast, and we discussed the whole issue that the FDA regulations obviously will impact a lot of manufacturers, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Honduras, etc., obviously, who have America as their primary market, but it will affect the rest of the world, because a lot of people around the world enjoy these New World cigars, and yeah, these manufacturers will obviously, if worst case scenario comes along, a lot of these manufacturers may just well be looking to push more into Europe, Asia, etc., to pick up a bit more market share, because it's going to be huge ramifications. And unfortunately, if, as I said, worst case scenario, we hope it doesn't get that far, but worst case scenario, a lot of the smaller boutique brands are going to suffer more than the big guys, which is a real shame, because the boutique cigars are really pushing around the world in terms of what they're creating, and enticing a lot of cigar smokers with their different blends and different ways of producing cigars, and making cigars that resonate with cigar smokers all around the world. So it'll be a huge issue, not just for American cigar smokers, but cigar smokers globally. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, the CRA, along with the IPCPR and the Cigar Association of America, have launched legal action against the FDA, which is great to see. A lot of people were pushing for it. Obviously, they want to have a lot of the processes stopped, and they're claiming that the FDA is sort of overstepping their mark. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch that space. And before that, obviously, Frank Herrera, on behalf of 1502 Cigars, launched legal action on behalf of one of his clients. So yeah, it's good to see that the it's almost sounds like the time for talk is over. There's been enough talk, enough petitions, etc. Now, unfortunately, it's come down to legal action. So hopefully, their legal approach will be a lot more successful. I guess that's fingers crossed. For the sake of a lot of the smaller boutique manufacturers as well, and the brick and mortar shops all across America that would have to, deal with perhaps less product to sell, not stocking their favourite boutique blends that resonate so well with their clientele. Into the second half now, into the second third, I guess you could say. Flavour changing up somewhat. There's more of a bit of earthiness and a touch of spice coming through as well. There was very little spice at the beginning there, but that's sort of starting to come in a bit more, and a real earthiness, some notes of leather. Still hard to say, but there's still that sort of tea leaf, black tea flavour, which is quite evident still there. Into close to the final third now. The cigar's going very, very well. Draw's still consistent. Great burn on it. Ashes forming very, very well. Still getting black tea flavour, that tea note. However, there is a bit more spice coming through, and a richer earthiness coming through as well, which is really pleasing. At the beginning, I said it was a light-bodied cigar, light to medium. Probably say it's moving more into that medium-bodied cigar, medium-bodied weight now. So yeah, very, very enjoyable cigar. Very, very pleasing. And going great with this rum. I'm going to pour myself a little bit more. Welcome back to Unico Desde 1979. Enjoying the Partagas D5. Constructed very well. Draw has been fantastic. Ashes formed very well. Touched up the edges a couple of times, but otherwise a solid cigar. So far, started with that black tea leaf aroma, vegetal sort of flavour, and it's progressed, becoming a lot more earthy, a lot more rich. But yeah, otherwise a really enjoyable cigar. Still light to medium bodied, but it's becoming a touch stronger in that final third, just with more of a earthiness and bit touch of leather, but predominantly that stronger black tea flavour coming through, and also a nice hint of spice as well, which is good. And as I said before, smoke coming off it is fantastic as well. Anyway, that's enough from me, guys. Partagas D5. I've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed watching. For all of my cigar journal stories, head over to unicodesde1979.com. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, but otherwise have a look at the blog. I've got the videos up there, as well as the short stories I've done for Cigar Journal Online, but also the full-length features as well. Check it out. Grab some Partagas D5s. You can't go wrong. As I said before, don't know a box code on this. It was from a 3-pack, but otherwise, great cigar. Get your hands on some and enjoy your next cigar. Cheers.